Hi, it's Mr. Thompson again with this week's intro video. This week's intro video is going to be on real world problems. And here's the problem I have for us to solve today. My problem here is I have a picture that's 16 by 20, but I want to reduce it to put it in this 5 by 7 frame. I want to keep the lengths equal. So that means I have to cut off part of this because I know these frames aren't proportional right now. So I got to cut off some measurement on this side. So I have to find out if I keep this at 20, I have to know how wide this is going to be proportional to this. So when I shrink it, it'll look just like this, but in a smaller frame. And I want to keep this part centered in my frame, so I have to remove a little bit from both sides. So here's what I'm going to have to do to solve this problem. I'm going to start off with identifying my ratio. We're going to look at the width over the length. That's the ratio we're looking at. We're keeping the length the same, so in our large picture, our unknown value is going to be the width. Our known value is the length, which is 20 inches. In our second frame, we know the width is going to be 5 inches to our length of 7 inches. Now, to find out what W is going to be, I have to cross multiply and divide, because if I know these are equal, I can multiply this times this and this times this, and if those numbers are the same, I have equivalent ratios. If I put the 16 up here, 16 times 7 is 112, 20 times 5 is 100, so I know that these two frames are not proportional. So now I need to find out what I need to cut my width to make it proportional. So this is really easy to multiply. 5 times 20 is 100. I then take and divide it by my 7, and we're going to put this in fraction form because I already know that this is a repeating decimal, and I can't measure repeating decimals to cut, but I can if I do fractions. So then I divide this into here. I get 1 is 7. That leaves 3. Bring down my 0. That goes in 4 times. That's 28. That leaves me 2 as a remainder. When I get to my remainder, because I don't want a decimal, I take my remainder, it becomes my numerator, my divisor becomes my denominator, and my answer to W is 14 and 2/7. Now that I know what my width has to be cut to, let's find out how much I have to cut off. To do that, I take the 16 from my original size of my picture, and I'm going to subtract 14 and 2/7. Well, in order to do that, I have to borrow from the 5, so that the 6 make it 5. I'm borrowing 1 whole, and as we know, 1 whole is the same as 7/7. Well, why did I choose 7 as my denominator? Because that's what my denominator here is. And 7/7 is that 1 whole that I borrowed from the 6. Now when I subtract, 7/7 minus 2/7 is 5/7. And if I take 15 subtract 14, I get 1. Now, I have to divide this in half so I know how much I have to cut off of each side. The easiest way to divide this in half is to turn it into a improper fraction. So 7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. So this is the same as 12/7. So if I want to cut this in half and find out what half of this is, I have to divide it by 2. Well, to divide it by 2 is the same thing as multiplying it by 1/2. Because if I divide by 2, I have to change the division to multiplication and flip it and take the reciprocal of 2, which is 1/2. Now I multiply, and that gives me 12/14. So that means I'm going to take 12/14 off of this side and 12/14 of an inch off of that side. Once I've done that, I now know how much I need to cut. I have to cut off 12/14 off of both sides, and then I can reduce it, and it will proportionally fit inside this frame. So what we're taking is a picture that's a little bit wider this way to this, and making it narrower. And once I make it narrower, it will then be reduced to fit into this frame of 5 by 7. So today you got a quick look at a real world problem, and we looked at proportions or ratios in order to solve our problem. Look forward to seeing you guys this week. And remember, let's get your study island work done and stay caught up, and see you throughout the week. Goodbye.